You want to start? Jenny's starting. Okay, I'll call this special meeting of the Board of Selectmen for April 19th for our community coffee. Call it to order. Will everybody join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
There we go. So we only have one thing on the agenda, and then we have coffee with the community. We did have the town meeting, which voted to have the referendum on the 18th. So I'd make a motion that the selectmen approve the notice of the annual town meeting and resolution. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second. Any discussion on that, Sue?
Unless you just want to tell us what the date is, put it out there.
May 18th. May 18th is the day we will vote. Right?
Right.
I got that right.
The town meeting's on May 4th,
Oh, sorry, town meeting's on May 4th. I was thinking of referendum.
and then you vote for the referendum.
Yeah.
I was going to say there's a couple of things going on there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Jenny's right. So I changed that. The motion is for May 4th is the town
That's what I
meeting.
thought
And
it said.
the 18th is the vote.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
And then, am I correct in looking at my calendar to say that on May 6th, there's a Board of Finance public hearing?
Let me check my calendar.
I know of, but
Well, yes, what happens is
I think we're changing dates around and all, so
I know,
just-
that's what I'm worried about now.
after the town meeting, the Board of Finance meets to take any consideration of changing the budget,
Mhm.
right? Which although they would also do after, if God
Oh.
forbid,
Okay, so this is if it's needed.
if needed. They'll,
Okay.
yeah, they'll still meet, I think. Just because they do, right? To consider any comments from the town meeting.
So just so that I am clear, because I have been putting things on my calendar, I have that the annual town, and just tell me if this is right. So the annual town meeting is May 4th at Brookfield High School, 7 p.m.
Right,
And the referendum is the 18th.
correct.
Okay.
So on the 4th, it's town meeting, so people, that's where the town can come, make any comments about the budget, concerns, up, down, think you should do this, think you should do that. And then we will also consider and vote upon a resolution setting the time of the vote for the 18th.
Okay. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
And then the Board of Finance does meet after that to take into consideration all the comments from the town.
Mhm.
And they'll also do that after the referendum. They have to meet to set the actual mill rate.
Mhm.
And if the budget does not get passed, they would obviously reconsider the budget.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I just want to make sure I had it correct as well.
Get a little confusing, especially these times. So do we have any public joining us?
I do have something that I wanted to bring up though, if I may.
Sure.
The Lions Club has asked for meeting space at the town hall.
Yeah.
They were looking for May and June, but I'm just asking at this point, what is your feeling for opening up the town hall for using the space?
My feeling would have been yes until 3 weeks ago when the rates started going through the roof in Brookfield. Now they somewhat moderated last week, but they're still 4 times the state average. Still. So my opinion is that the earliest we would want to have people coming in and having meetings, given there are other ways to do this. I mean, Yeah, have you suggested they meet like at the gazebo? Right?
Well, their feeling is if they can't get into use it in May and June, that maybe, July and August, if that would be available. But I can certainly offer
Like the gazebo?
offer
So,
up the gazebo. We'll have to make sure it's not being rented out and I'll have to talk to Park and Rec.
yeah, just talk to Mary quickly or Dan. But I'm thinking right now, Sue, we're gonna watch this, that in June, I think we can go back to having meetings in town hall.
Okay.
If the rates go where we think they're gonna go.
Okay.
Hopefully they'll start to abate a little bit.
hmm
But if they don't, and like the whole Lions Club couldn't meet here.
No. This is a subcommittee,
Yeah,
not the whole.
5 people, yeah, we can
Yeah.
do that.
No,
We're
this is about
also
6 or
thinking-
7 people.
Yeah, so they could do that, and the other issue is everybody is vaccinated, final vaccination 2 weeks prior. That makes it much safer too, which a lot of people will be, I think.
Yeah.
So we'll play that one by ear. At the same time, we're redoing the land use offices.
Mhm.
We're building another conference room.
Right.
So we'll have another place to meet. And that conference room will be about 14 feet by 14 feet. And that's right through May into the beginning of June. So that'll help when we finally can get back and meet. But I'm thinking June. What do you think?
Oh man, I'm hoping our numbers are looking better. I did hear that Governor Lamont had lifted some restrictions. I did not hear his announcement today. I don't know if you're familiar with it at all.
I didn't see it today, but they're constantly changing things. They're opening stuff up. But the problem I have and the concern that I have is the same one that Kenny at Portobello has. The rates in Brookfield are just through the roof. We're a hot spot in Connecticut. So I think we got to take it a little easier and a little slower than the rest of the state. We'll see. I did not see what the governor put out today, but Doc usually looks at that and sends it to us, and we'll see.
Yeah. And I know we're obviously different being so close to New York and the New York variant
Yeah,
versus, my son who lives in Putnam.
yes, that's
they're-
true because
It's much more rural and they don't have the cases that we have. So,
yeah. And from the evidence that we have so far, the new variants are about 60%, maybe a little more of the cases.
mhm.
And the reports show that the new variants are 2.5 times more transmissible. They're just much more, we had that case of one sports team where it looks like the kids got the virus, brought it home, 43 people were infected, and 3 people were hospitalized. From what I'm hearing, none of the kids feel bad. They're just asymptomatic. That's the problem with this, with the younger people, that they're carrying it and they don't even know it, so they're not getting tested. And you find out when somebody in their house gets sick.
Right.
So better safe than sorry, I think.
Mhm.
And hopefully this will all be over pretty soon.
All right. Okay. That was my question. Thank you. I'll speak with them.
So I see someone named Stacy on. Stacy, do you have anything you'd like to talk to the selectmen about?
Hi, I'm Stacy.
Hi, Stacy.
Nice to meet you. I was just eating dinner and I was like, oh, I want to listen in. But I did, it's nice to meet you and be able to speak with you. We were Brookfield residents now for about 2 years. And I just had questions about as far as like the apartments coming in into the town. I think it's very exciting to see the progress that's being made at Four Corners. And just had questions about senior housing and any sort of like 55-year and older. I'm sure that this has already been put in place, but just trying to understand in greater detail, what type of housing is it? And is it possible, or if there are any plans for 55 and older apartments, like rentals for Brookfield?
We haven't had a developer come in and do that. Newberry Village on Federal Road, which is north of the town center, that's a 55 and older community. So
Okay.
it's condos and townhouses. in the housing on Laurel Hill and the existing Brookfield Village, the two buildings, the red one and the green one, that are built around, that are around the ones that are being built right now, those are affordable housing for the most part. So
Okay.
people of all ages can go in there. Typically in Brookfield, 55 and older housing is built by developers, and they make that determination. The town doesn't have a 55 and older affordable housing policy or any building plans. The developers do that, and they do that based on what they perceive as the need. So like Newberry Village, Sue, how many units in Newberry Village? 100 or so?
Oh, there's a lot. If you're looking for affordable, it's probably not the place that you'd be
Yeah, that's not really,
thinking of. I mean, we do have the affordable housing in Brookfield. But I know that, social services, they get calls all the time of people, looking for space, wanting to downsize, can't afford some of the places that they go to. But I think to, Steve's point is, we would encourage, builders to maybe come in and do something like that for us.
Yeah, I think through the pandemic, and I work as an occupational therapist in the community. And I always have clients looking for, they don't want a condo or a large condo similar to Newberry Village, or to spend that kind of money. Whereas it's not that they necessarily need affordable housing, but they just need something a little less expensive than that. I have family members myself that are looking to downsize now that the housing market is doing what it's doing. So it's like if there was an apartment complex that was 55 and older, that would be a nice place to kind of land for a little bit. So I just was curious as far as that goes, or even my clients that I work with who are often looking for an apartment that is, again, made for 55 and older, aging in place, not necessarily handicapped accessible, but like how can, is there a development that they could stay in for a couple of years as they age? As a landing point, I guess.
Yeah, it's like an interim point. Decide where you're going, what you want to do, how you're going to do it.
Yeah.
Florida, right?
Yeah.
I will say this, we haven't had developers really come in and focus on the 55 plus. It's definitely a very live market because we do have an assisted living that's going in on Federal Road.
Right.
And that's going to have 120 some odd units. So the demand is there. There's no doubt about it. The supermarket that's going in the Four Corners in the town center, next to the Still River Greenway, will have apartments on the second and third floor and commercial on the first floor. Primarily, 80% of it will be a supermarket. But those apartments right now are going to be studios and one bedrooms.
Okay.
They're not geared for families. They're geared for singles and couples.
Yeah.
And also, Steve,
they're not
the space. The space, don't ask me what it's called, but behind the bowling alley area there, they're planning on putting more apartments there as well.
Yeah, we just have another development, Sue, is right on 101 to 105 Laurel Hill Road, which, Sue, are going to be all rentals, right? And I think they're looking for the higher end of rentals, not crazy, but a few more amenities, an exercise room. And I think it's not specifically geared towards 55 and older, but I think that's exactly the market because that's what the developer said they're looking for.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
So more are definitely coming in, depending on their, ability to what they can pay, but there'll be lots more options.
Okay. Kind of going off of that, then with more apartments coming in, it kind of makes me think too, with like the school systems, having school age children myself, how does that affect how many kids are coming into the schools with all the apartments coming in as well? Is that something that Brookfield, I mean, I'm sure you have already thought about these things, but how does that really affect the schools with more children coming into the town too?
That's a very, very good question. We had thought there was going to be originally, you do these demographic studies and things, and Laurel Hill, which is that complex, and Brookfield Village, which are both deemed affordable and are 1 and 2 bedrooms. Laurel Hill brought in about 15 kids.
Okay.
And Brookfield Village, I'm not sure, but I think it was a similar number. So these are not incredibly large numbers that we're going to be inundating the schools with.
Mhm.
We are, though, seeing an overall growth in the demographics of children in the schools.
Yeah.
And as a matter of fact, with the new school at Huckleberry, because of the demographics, we've added classrooms to that school.
Right.
Oh,
And I think a lot of it's, like you say, not the apartments, Steve, but it's the homes that are getting turned over. You know,
Yeah.
I've got several on my road that have, sold this past year, and they were the people who were considering downsizing anyway. So their children have already been through the school system, and it's young families that are now moving in.
Yeah, yeah. Even on my street, there's 2 families that moved in, and it mostly was people who bought the houses originally when they were built, but now they're all in their 60s and 70s, and they're starting to sell, and it is young families moving in, which I think is a good thing. It's nice to see kids on board.
yeah.
Yeah, that's what we want. Yeah.
Yeah.
We want to be able to sell our homes.
Yeah,
And,
we just don't want, like Danbury, 1,000 kids coming in at a clip, right?
Well, and that's what it just startles me, like, oh my gosh, is that what's going to end up happening? Is we're going to have all these, because I feel like Danbury kind of did that. They really built up exit 1, exit 2. And it was like, well, how are you accommodating all of these children coming in? And then it's like, is this what's going to happen in Brookfield? I don't think it would go to that extreme of how many students, but was like, are we going to really bulk up the school systems?
I personally think, especially given the pandemic and the demographics of who's moving in, I think Sue is absolutely right. It's people who are staying in their houses, and now they see, because prices have gone up significantly.
Mm-hmm.
We were thinking of moving in 3 or 4 years. Let's do it now, Martha.
Yeah.
And it is younger families moving in. So we do, I think, are going to see an increase in the number of students. We won't see anything like Danbury. Danbury,
yeah, I
really,
remember, the school system had done one of their demographic studies and kind of looking at the geography of the town and how many more homes could you fit here? What could you do? And looking at that, there is really basically what they see as a cap as to how big we will get.
Okay.
given our current zoning, it's probably
Yeah.
22 to 24,000 people. We're at 17.5 now. And 22,500 means all Federal Road was developed, with apartments and condos. That'll be another 10, 15 years down the road. But we've
Okay.
been thinking ahead. And so like Huckleberry has, I think it's 8 or 10 additional classrooms we've added
Oh, wow.
to be safe, just
Okay.
to be safe. Because we
Mhm.
don't want to have to move the 5th grade back to Wisconsin.
Mm-hmm.
And we always, it seems like every, 8 to 10 years, Sue, we get a bump class.
Yeah.
There's like 30 or 40 more kids in that class
Mm.
than any other class.
Mm.
And it
Nice.
wreaks
We'll
havoc.
see if we have a pandemic bump.
Yeah.
Oh my God, 6,000 children. But those are all good questions. And we continue to look at this very carefully. We do want more affordable housing, primarily for those people who are retiring. We want our seniors to be able to retire in town, but not have to keep a house up.
Right.
Right. Yeah,
People are
absolutely.
tired of cutting the grass and doing the gutters and replacing the roof. They want something in between. That's
Right.
kind of a transitional thing.
Yeah.
And so hopefully the 101 to 105 Laurel Hill Road is definitely aimed towards an older demographic. That's
Okay.
what we're looking for. I don't know what the rents will be. It is a market rate,
Mhm.
but you would pay probably market rate anywhere, any town you went to,
Right.
if you're 55 plus. But that's what they're going after. So I would keep that in mind. And that's moving apace. He's moving forward with that.
Mhm. Yeah. And just to the point of the pandemic bump, from what I hear the hospital reports is that they're surprised that we haven't had one.
No, yeah.
So,
People got scared.
I don't know what's going to happen here. Yeah. Great
I-
questions though.
Yeah, that thank you. That helped out a bit. And it's great to hear, hopefully, that the apartments on Laurel Hill on the back end there will hopefully be for that older age population. And what I wanted to ask too, just because of my background and as being an occupational therapist too and working with seniors, is there a possibility of having somebody kind of help and facilitate making sure the apartments for that age, that older population, to be able to age in place a little bit easier, and not making it ADA approved, but not so much that it needs to be handicap accessible looking, but just kind of being able to age in place a little bit easier with walk-in showers and, different heights of equipment in the house to kind of accommodate as that person ages.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think that they're going to that level there.
Okay.
Because then you're moving your way towards the edge of assisted living. But there's a lot of people who you're right, need some help, right? But just accommodations, as you say, walk-in showers, walk-in
Right.
toilets, things like that.
Independent living almost is,
Yeah,
I know that's what my mom had, was independent.
Yeah, it's just independent living, and I have a couple of clients even now who are just looking for a place that they can be in, that if they ever needed to be in a wheelchair, if they ever needed, not that they need physical assistance, but just having the ability to be in a place that they can really truly age in place and not have to worry about making renovations and all of that. So if you're ever looking for someone, now that I'm saying all of that, I'd be happy to add any sort of feedback to that too.
Well, there's also the Brookfield Commons, right? Is that what it's called up behind?
Yeah, but that's also income restricted, Sue.
Is
And
it? Okay. Okay.
yeah, you can't make over a certain amount of money.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
maybe that's a good thing then.
Yeah,
I thought you meant the other way. Like if you made too much, are they going to kick you out?
Yeah, I don't know if they'll
Or
kick
if you
you out.
lose your funding? Yeah, they kick you
Well,
out.
your rent will go up significantly
Mhm.
if you're already in there. The problem we have, Stacy, in Brookfield is even Laurel Hill is supposedly affordable. It starts at like $1,350.
Yeah, a lot of money.
Mhm.
And if you make more than, I think it's $62,000 with a family of 3, you make too much money
Yeah.
to live there. So there's a gap there,
Mhm.
that, in my opinion, that I don't consider, $1,358. Of course, I'm older, right? I'm used to paying 5 cents for things. But $1,350, that's $15,000 a year.
Yeah.
That's 25% of $60,000 a year.
Yeah.
That's not an inconsequential salary, but in Fairfield, it makes it very, very difficult to find that gap in apartments that are affordable for
Mhm.
people making a reasonable income, but they're not millionaires.
Mhm.
Right. Right.
Or early retirees who aren't ready to,
Right.
give up all their independence yet. They want to be able to walk down and
Yeah.
get some ice cream and do whatever.
Because like our house, my wife and I bought our house, and we bought it for one reason, so her uncle could come live with us. But we had to completely redo the bathroom. We had to make the shower so you could get a wheelchair in it. We had to make everything on one level. It did
Mhm.
have an accessory apartment, but the apartment bedroom was upstairs. That
Okay.
wasn't going to work for him.
Right.
To get everything on one level. And it worked out really well for us. But one, that's not inexpensive to do. And not a lot of people can add an accessory unit to their house.
Right. Right. And
That's
those are my
also a lot of money.
thoughts with that type of, like you said, where is that middle type of housing where it's for those people who the families can't make an in-law apartment for their parents that are completely independent, but they're gonna, in 10 years, they may need a little bit more. As far as the environmental changes, not the physical assistance. So that's kind of my thought.
Yeah, and you just want to stay home,
Yeah, exactly. Who wants to go anywhere? Especially now with the pandemic. It's just nobody wants to be in a nursing home.
It
Yeah,
would seem to me it would be a great market for somebody to move into and make places.
Mhm.
You see a lot of these places, like my mom she lived here in Brookfield for a while, and then she decided she wanted to go to Florida. I had 2 sisters down there because the winters were just getting to be too much for her. And she finally moved into a place, you would have thought it was just apartments and townhouses, but 50 feet down the hallway was a full dining room, all the services. She had a 2-bedroom apartment, but you couldn't tell it was, that interim living.
Yeah.
If she wanted to go down and have breakfast with people, she could. If she didn't want to, she could cook in her apartment.
Yeah.
We don't have things like that here.
We don't. We do. They're so financially out of reach that it's like, you just can't do it. So it's definitely, that's why I'm like, there's got to be something. And there really isn't. It's either you go to an assisted living that also offers independent living, but even that, I mean, you're talking like $5,000 a month just for the independent living. So it's like if we had apartments that could accommodate that, where they don't need a dining room, but they want to be able to have the environmental changes within their living space,
Right.
was kind of my thought.
And maybe somebody who could come in and help them move from a wheelchair to a bed, or, just a little bit of help.
Yeah.
We don't have that in Connecticut. We certainly
Yeah.
don't have it in Brookfield. And I'm sure the assisted living that's going in, I met with those people who are building it, and they own about 40 different assisted living places around the world. And they showed me what they're doing, and it's lovely. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
really
It is. I
is.
bet.
But I'm sure it's not cheap. Sure it's not cheap.
Now, Steve, do you know the name of the company that's opening it?
Yeah, Leisure Care
Okay.
out of Seattle, Washington.
Okay.
And it's a privately held company. They have a place down in North Haven, and the first selectman in North Haven called me last Monday, and he said, "Steve, I understand you'll be visiting with these people. I got to tell you, they're just incredible neighbors in North
Oh.
Haven, the Leisure Care Company.
Yeah.
They're involved in the community. They want their residents involved in the community. They do lots of things with the community." And that was really nice. They seem like very, very nice people.
Very
They
nice.
originally talked about independent too.
Yeah.
Assisted.
Yeah, and but I think theirs is going to be
Is it
like
still?
the Brookfield Commons, where, I'm sorry, I was thinking of Brookfield, the Quarry, Sue, when you said Brookfield Commons. But they're going to be like the Brookfield Commons. There's common eating areas and,
Mhm.
activity areas, and you have a room. I don't think they're not going to be, you have a kitchen and a living area where you can live fully independently. It's like we have assisted living, or we have apartments, but we don't have
Yeah.
anything in between.
Yeah. There's nothing really in between. How do I advocate for that, Steve, for those new apartments?
Talk to the
Yeah.
developer.
Yeah.
Send you their names. That's Bob Hebert is building the 101 to 105.
Okay.
I think they probably would be taking that sort of thing into consideration.
I would think it'd be a very smart
expensive.
move.
Yeah, it's expensive to have somebody move out and somebody else move in. It's
Right.
very rare, somebody moves out on a Thursday and somebody moves in on Friday. They lose a month's rent at least. So his name is Bob Hebert. If you want to call my office tomorrow, we'll get you his contact details.
Yeah, that would be great. I just think that if I can put a little drop a couple seeds in there,
Mhm.
that would be great.
Yeah.
Well, he's a pretty nice guy.
Okay.
Yeah, just call my office and Ginny, my assistant, the boss around here.
She's on the call now. Yeah.
He's on the call right now. We'll help you out and get you his name.
Thank you. Yeah, that would be great.
Okay,
I appreciate your time.
All right.
anytime. That's why
Thanks
we're
for
here.
calling in. Yeah. Nice to meet you.
You guys too. Thank you.
Okay,
Take care.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
so do we have anybody? I don't think we have anybody else on.
Is that Will and Jean?
Yes, it's Jean.
Hi, Jean. How are you?
Hi, how are you?
Good.
No,
thank
I don't
you.
have anything tonight, so thank you.
Okay. Did get your letter. Thank you for sharing.
Yes,
Okay, bye.
okay. So we've been here about half an hour. Should we give it another minute? See if
Sure.
anybody else wants to join us?
Sure. Does Mr. Lucas have anything to share?
I don't know. He's busy navigating something.
Oh, that's right.
No, I don't. I appreciate all of your comments regarding the apartments. It's a lot to digest when you really aren't involved with it day to day, because there's a lot of misinformation out there. So I think that's important that you put out what you just did. So that's great.
Yeah, yeah, like the new Brookfield Village apartments, they're going to be 100% market rate. And market rate versus affordable, there's not a huge difference. Like $200 a month. It seems crazy to me. I would have thought when we first started doing this, Sue, affordable meant 800, 900, maybe $1,000 a month, and market rate was 1,500, 1,600. The differences are not that great,
I know.
which is surprising to me.
Mhm.
Yeah, but there are a lot of questions out there.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, so Sue, so I can bring up the subject as a resident, right? So
Sure.
I talked to the owner of 846 Federal Road,
Okay.
the columns, I call it
Oh,
tower,
yes.
right? Where it had the tree fall on it.
Yeah.
And they also own 20 Station Road.
Hmm.
And she told me she's going to rebuild 846.
Oh, okay.
I said, that's
When?
fine.
When?
Now,
So we don't have to look at it.
right, we have an order of demolition there.
Yeah.
That gives them 120 days to either demolish it or take us to court. And the same thing with 20 Station Road. You know, particularly 20 Station Road has been difficult for many, many years, and we got held up because of the contamination from the dry cleaning fluids. So then we got a grant to check it, to uh, see what contaminants were there and what could be done to remediate them. That took about 18 months. And now we're at a point you either got to fix it or knock it down, do something. And I personally don't think the 20 Station Road is worth even trying to fix. It's pretty beat up. 846, that's a judgment call. I think it's going to be incredibly expensive given the damage to that
Mhm.
property
Mhm.
to repair it.
Is he going to at least get in there anytime soon to fix the roof before it
She
rains anymore inside?
said they're going to do it shortly. What that means is anyone's guess. So because we've run into this before and people say they're going to do things but aren't able to do them, we're not lifting our order of demolition
Okay.
just because somebody says they're going to do something.
Right.
Otherwise, we're back to square one.
Right.
So hopefully, we had that one property, I'm going to get the number wrong, 872. You go up Federal Road on the right,
Mhm.
they've demolished that, they've
Mhm.
leveled it, that property looks a lot better.
Oh, I'm so glad they took down the fencing too, because that had been left up after the house and it looked awful.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
came to us and said, well, we did it, we're finished, and we went and looked at it and said,
Yeah, no,
no.
no.
Yeah. But they've done it a lot better. It does have a trailer on there that they're going to use. They say they're going to develop the property, and there are a couple big pieces of concrete in the back we've asked them to remove. But I went by there yesterday, and it looks a lot better. And we're doing that with a lot of the properties in the town center. Pushing
Good.
them to either fix the properties up so they're nice
Mhm.
looking, or demolish them.
Yeah.
There is a developer in Danbury, where the barnyard used to be.
Right.
Ostensibly, the owner has a deal to sell it to that developer, and that developer is going to clear that property too. But we also have an order to them to get the thing cleaned up. And
Right.
cleaned up doesn't mean you cut the grass. I mean, there's windows boarded up. We want these properties to look as if they're lived in from the street, and that the
Mhm.
people that own them care about the property.
Mhm. Well, I'm glad they did board it up because at least they're
Yeah.
keeping it safe and people
Yeah.
not going into it. The property that, the house they just took down, have they come to the town with what their plans are?
No, not yet. Not yet. But I don't think they would have taken it down. We had just started with them on the light panel,
Mhm.
and they did this on their own. So I think they probably are incented to do that, right?
Yeah. Well, it certainly makes sense because if you're going to sell the property, they're not going to keep up what was there anyway. So you might as
No.
well make it more attractive to sell.
Yeah. And I think that's the biggest problem we have in the town center. A lot of the owners of these properties feel that they're going to get developed. There'll be, a developer will come in, buy their property, buy the one next to it, and then develop it. And they're thinking, well, why should I put any money into this? I'm just going to sell it,
Right.
right? It's going to get demolished. But
Oh.
our point is, with all the development that's gone in the downtown, you really see the difference now between a Brookfield Village
Yeah.
and other buildings in the downtown. Whereas even 6 years ago, it wasn't that big a difference, so people didn't notice it. But now
Well,
it's very clear
right.
that there's a difference.
Right. Well, now, obviously the home with the columns, that was,
Yeah.
oh man, that's your introduction right there. All right.
So we're getting there. It
Yeah.
and just
Well, they
so
have to be good neighbors too.
yeah, and
Let's make it,
that's the key. That's the key. Be a good neighbor. Take care of your property for your
Yeah.
neighbors. I mean, we have a couple properties now of 20 Station Road. We're foreclosing on them
Mhm.
to reap back the fines that we have imposed on the property. it's not something we want to do. But if you force us to after 4 years and you haven't done anything to fix the property, we're going to use every legal means we have to get the properties cleaned up, because you are lowering the value of your neighbor's properties.
Right. And I was going to say, not to call out a street or a home or anything, but there is a residential property that
Yep.
you're working with as well. That is,
We're closing on that too, because we first cited them in 2017.
Yeah.
It's now 2021, and the property's only gotten worse and worse.
Well, I'm glad that a couple of years ago we did change the blight
Yeah, ordinance.
ordinance to make it so that it wasn't just health and safety, but it was,
Lowering the value.
attractiveness as well.
Right. And the way we did that by saying if you're lowering the value of your neighboring properties, that's blight. Because the previous ordinance, if everything met health and safety requirements, you could have a total mess in your front yard. And there was nothing the town could do about it. It's only when we changed that ordinance that we could start to go after these properties with some teeth in the law.
Yeah.
But when you go on these blighted properties, state law strongly favors the property owner in any procedure. So these property owners who have blighted properties, literally the way our town attorney puts it, get 3 completely separate bites of the apple before we can start fining them. And that takes months to do, months and months to go through that entire process.
And how many properties would you say right now we're at the stage of finding them and they're still being difficult?
There's probably 8 properties that we're finding.
Yeah.
And there's more, there's about 20 properties on the blight panel list that we're going through and working through. So it's not that the number of blighted properties has grown over the last 4 or 5 years. What it is that we're recognizing them and going after them, and particularly in the town center, because properties in the town center have gone down, I think.
Well, in the column, the column, obviously that was what ICS, however you pronounce that storm, that was last year.
Yeah, but even then,
so that added to the list.
that added to it. And we've tried to be careful about this. The town isn't just going around and picking properties to say they're blighted. We have been working under the premises, somebody makes a complaint about a property, then we will look at it. Because we're not actively chasing people and yelling at them. But all the times, virtually almost every single time when somebody has filed a complaint, the property is blighted. It is. It's
And you can't blame a neighbor.
no, and I understand the neighbor's getting upset.
Yeah.
I mean, in one case where I'm telling you, I wouldn't live on the street with a house like that. And that's not fair to your neighbors. You're not being a good neighbor by doing that.
No. Yeah.
Okay.
All
So
right.
I think,
Well,
shall we call it a day? I don't think anybody else is going to join us.
I think we'll call it a day.
Okay. So I make a motion to adjourn this meeting. Do I have a second?
I'll second it, but I do have one other thing that I wanted to point out. We do have another special meeting tomorrow night for
Right.
a vote. Okay.
Yeah, that's a vote to do the OGMP for the new school. It's just a process we have to go through and approve that. The MBC, the Municipal Building Committee, has put together the entire package of bidders and who's being awarded. And this is all the documentation we have to do with the state to make sure we get our reimbursement.
And we would normally cover that in a regular selectman meeting, but time is of the essence for this. We have to get it. And they just got it to us.
Yep.
So.
And we have a hard deadline for opening that new school. It's a very hard deadline. So we have to meet it. So that's why we're having a special meeting rather than letting it wait a week and a half.
Yeah.
Okay.
All righty.
Having made that motion and got a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Thank you,
See
everybody.
tomorrow.
We'll talk to you soon. See you tomorrow.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank
You're
you,
welcome,
Bye, guys.
Stacy. Bye-bye. Bye, Jean. Bye, John.
Bye.